It's an honor to be here today. I bet you thought you'd never have to sit through another high school teacher's lecture, huh? It's what you get for coming to events like this. So yeah, my name is Tutt. I'm in the Deer Valley Unified School District. I teach at Mountain Ridge High School. I've been there for 20 years. I'm the math department chair. I teach AP Calculus AB, AP Calculus BC, AP Statistics, and AP Macroeconomics. I'm a busy guy. And I get to work with incredible kids every single day. And today I want to talk about education. I want to talk about how we're doing against the rest of the world, how Arizona in particular is doing, and just a little bit about the incredible kids I get to work with. A lot of doom and gloom we see in the press lately, and certainly from our government as well, about the state of American education and how we're falling behind and all of that. And a few years ago, I was asked to give a presentation to my colleagues at Mountain Ridge, and I thought this would be a great topic. So all the data I've seen doesn't suggest we're having any problem at all with our education system compared to the rest of the world. So I dug into some data and I found a great article by an author named Christopher Tankin. And he's currently at Seton Hall, and he used to be an elementary school teacher and an elementary school principal before that. And it was validating for me to find somebody who basically confirmed everything I've always kind of felt about education. And I brought a lot of that data to my colleagues a couple of years ago, and we'll talk about it some right now. His article basically was breaking down the 2011 TIMSS test, and that stands for the Trends in Math and Science Study. And what he found out was that the US that particular year, it's an international test that compares about 55 different countries, I think, that year, but it varies from year to year. And he found that the US was 7th percentile in math and science, roughly. So that means that we scored better than about 75% of the countries that took the test that year. So people panicked. What happened? We used to be number one, right? I don't know where that notion started that we were number one, but it certainly hasn't been the case for 50 years or more. If you go back, it's not the research I've seen. You go back to the first time one of these tests was given back in the mid-60s, and we were 11th and 12th out of 12 in math and science. The next time it was given was the mid-80s, and we didn't do a whole lot better. We were still in the bottom half, but we were making small strides. We get to the mid-90s, and we finally hit the 50th percentile and broke through, and we've been inching up ever since, and here we are. We're roughly in the 75th percentile. So if anything, the trend is actually up, not down. So I think he pretty much hit it on the head. I don't think we have a problem with our education system. In fact, if you take Massachusetts out, that state alone is 5th in the world in math and 2nd only to Singapore in science. Clearly, not a dire situation in Massachusetts. So some of our states know how to produce top-notch graduates. So even when we compare ourselves to the top 10 biggest economies, we're right there in the middle, slightly above. We were between 3rd and 5th in the top 10 there in 4th and 8th grade math and science. So again, the trend appears to be up, not down. So I don't think the problem's with the education system. He asserts, and I completely agree with him, that we have a childhood poverty problem in this country. That's where the issue is, okay? I think we attack that, and we've got a chance to see some incredible outcomes here. Our national average is 23%. The countries that we compare ourselves to are in the mid-teens, low teens, some even in single digits. So that's where we need to focus our attention. In particular, Massachusetts is 15%. I think there are only 4 states that are doing better than they are on that front. So not a big surprise that their educational outcomes are so outstanding. So there's a blueprint right there on how we can fix things. Arizona, unfortunately, is 27%. All right, and that's not good enough. We can do better. We need to do better. Those kids deserve better than that. There are only 5 states worse than us. All right, so that's a place that we can definitely improve. So really, why would we expect to be number one in the world in education? I think Tankin asked the right questions. Are we number one in the world in eradicating childhood poverty? Are we first in the world in percentage of children having access to high quality health care? Are U.S. children least prone to housing and food insecurity compared to the rest of the world? Do we lead the world in universal access to high-quality preschool? The answer to all of those is a resounding no. Of course we're not. So why would we expect to be first in the nation in educating our kids? No one doubts that we're number one in the world in our universities. The world sends its best to us, and then they go back. Hopefully we can keep some of those people here, but there's no doubt about that. But that's what needs to be addressed. So, I don't think we can underestimate the impact of poverty on a child's chances to succeed in public school. I think about a little girl getting ready to go to school for the first time, 1st grade. Her single mother, maybe she couldn't afford a new dress and new shoes for school. So what kind of self-image does she have? Is she going off to her first day of school? Is she concerned kids are going to make fun of her? I just wonder if she can put her best foot forward under those circumstances. And I'm not even touching on the more obvious problems that the poor face. Is she hungry? Is there violence in her home? You know, these are the issues we have to talk about. Can her mother afford health care? Is she sick more often than some of her colleagues? And can she get to school on time? I mean, these are major issues and hurdles that the poor have to face that are very tough for them to overcome. So I think, again, if we attack that problem, we've got a chance to succeed here. Now, a personal story. I was a high school basketball coach for nearly 20 years. And we used to get a dozen brand new basketballs every year, leather basketballs, whether we needed them or not. You know, we kept them indoors. Not much happens to them over the course of the season. I just kept throwing them in a storage room. We got a ton of them. And one day, one of the mothers of one of my players came and asked if I could donate any, because her sister was a elementary PE teacher in the Cartwright district downtown. I said, of course, I was happy to get them out of the room. And heard back the following week that it was like Christmas there. They had 2 basketballs on that campus for those kids to play with at recess. One of them, the panels were coming off, and the other ball wouldn't hold much air anymore. I couldn't believe it. I mean, my head was so far in the sand. I think a lot of us are that way. I couldn't believe that that happens in public education anywhere. Bummed me out. I just could not believe that that could actually happen. So again, I just don't think we can underestimate the impact that that has. So let's talk about funding a little bit. Now, full disclosure, I am pro public education, all right? I would like to see some more funding. Not shocking news, I'm sure. But Massachusetts spends $17,000 per student, okay? They're not the highest, but they're up there. Most of the Northeast is pretty similar. New York spends $19,000 per student. And their poverty rates are similar to Massachusetts, and they all have excellent outcomes, although Massachusetts is the best. So here in Arizona, we spend $7,200 per student. Not even close to half what Massachusetts is spending. And politicians are quick to say we can't just throw money at it. Why? Please, one time, throw a big pile of money at it and let's see what we can do with it. I would love the chance to see what we could do with that kind of money. I would love that opportunity. Don't think it's going to happen in this state, but a man can dream, right? So, true story, a couple months ago, I was reading the newspaper before going to school, and our education system was in the news again, front page, Arizona Republic. I had to bring it to my students. First period, economics. I said, hey guys, did you see the paper today? We're #1 in the US at something, our education system. That actually got their attention. They're like, wow, seriously? They've known me to make a joke or two about our education system here. And a couple of them are snickering, waiting for the punchline. Some are actually like, wow, we're actually #1 at something. Yeah, we're #1 in the US at cutting education. We're the best. We're the best. We're #1. Unbelievable. We have cut, since the Great Recession, nearly 25% of our school budget. Okay, nearly 25%. A quarter of our budget gone. You know, sometimes I think we do get what we pay for. And I think that's what's happening. Around that same time, I saw an article in the Washington Post. Now, how bad do we have to be to make the Washington Post? That's in Washington. They've got plenty of news to cover there. Apparently, our situation made the news there. And it stated pretty much that teachers are leaving the state in droves because of the funding situation. And it's an absolute fact. We have a huge teacher shortage, a crisis that's only going to get worse, and it's bad. And that directly affects educational outcomes, as you can imagine. So we've got some problems there. So I hate to bring anybody back to any kind of nightmares about an econ lecture they might have had in college or anything, but every one of these students is an economic resource. And every one of them that slips through the crack is a drag on our long-run economic progress. This is such a basic concept. It was actually on the AP practice test we did the other day in economics. It was right there. The question said, which one of the following is a determinant long-run economic growth? And the answer was an educated population. Okay? It's that basic that it's on the AP test. So, you know, I read another article that detailed several companies and corporations that elected not to move here after all, okay, costing us thousands of jobs because of our education system. It loved our tax environment, okay, that's not surprising, but they didn't think our education system was capable of producing the kind of employees that they needed for their high-tech firms. We lost out on those jobs because of our education system. We have a very myopic view of that here in this state. And that insult to injury, one of the CEOs actually said, plus I don't want my child educated in that system. That one hurts, like, wow. So that gives you an idea of what we're up against. If you've been following the political season, and it's been an entertaining one, to say the least, finally, I've heard some politicians talking about something I've believed in for a long time. And again, full disclosure, I'm pro-education. So we're hearing for the first time at a major level discussion about free college. A lot of European countries already offer this. And, you know, in the 50s, a high school education was enough to buy a house, color television, car, raise a family, maybe have some money left over. You could get a slice of the American dream with that. The government made a deal that we're going to educate you, and you have a chance to be a functioning member in our economy. You have enough education to make that work for us and to help us all out. We're all in this together. And at that point, you could decide to go on and seek further education on your own, or you could get out there and work. Well, someone's dropped the ball, because here we are this many years later. You think a high school education is enough for the American dream anymore? Not even close, not by a long shot. Not even close. Studies have shown that high school education in the 50s and 60s is roughly equivalent to a college degree these days. All right, so I know both sides don't agree on this, but I hope sometime in the near future that we can agree that it's a goal. Now, we know funding of this is going to be a big problem. It's going to have to be phased in over quite a while, I'm sure, and we're certainly not going to solve that here. But it ought to be a goal. At least we should be able to get community college paid for. 2 additional years, an extension of high school, to see if they're serious about pursuing their education. The benefits of free college are obvious. Number one, it levels the playing field. Okay? Poor people get a chance for their slice of the American dream. They can work their way out of their station and do something through their own hard work without all the barriers that they're facing right now and get into college. And the other one is college debt. I mean, some of you may be sending $500 a month to some financial institution that does zero for our economy, and you may know people that are paying these debts off into their late 30s and early 40s. It's absurd. Think if that wasn't the case. That $500 a month could have gone to a bigger house, a better car, a boat, trips, whatever they want to pay for. All those things grow the economy. All those things grow the economy. They raise incomes, and they create jobs. So the benefits are there. It's obvious. So, you know, hopefully that's where we're moving. So let's talk about funding a little bit for tuition these days. In 1990, ASU's tuition, I believe, was about $1,400. Okay? If you allow for inflation, it should be about $2,500 today. And I'm waiting for the snickers and laughing. Anybody going to ASU right now? What does it cost to go to ASU? I think it's over $10,000. What happened? They must have some fantastic books there that were not there when I was going to school. I'm telling you, because there's something that's going on. I don't know if every desk has a recliner with it and a personal fridge. I don't know what's going on. I want to go back and get another degree. I just don't think I can afford it. But how does that happen? So since the Great Recession, our tuition has gone up 70%. 70% since 2007. Want to know the national average? You really don't. 27%. Yeah. My students weren't too happy about it either when I told them about that. And I said, that's why you have to vote. That's why you got to get out and vote. That's absurd. No way. So we're first in the US at cutting education, and we're also the best at raising tuition. That's it. We're the best. So that's that's what our kids are facing these days. I can't even make this up. All right, this joke kind of tells itself, but this is a direct quote from our state constitution. Article 11, Section 6. The university shall be open to both sexes, and the instruction furnished shall be as nearly free as possible. 1912. In the immortal words of George Carlin, I'd like to repeat that because it sounds vaguely important. The university shall be open to both sexes, and the instruction furnished shall be as nearly free as possible. How are we doing on that score? I know the legislature likes following the Constitution. Nobody's asking them about this one. Somebody in 1912, the authors, understood the value of educating the public. They understood how that lifted all boats and increased economic capacity. We've dropped the ball big time since then. So that ends up being the message to my kids. You gotta vote. All right? If you look at the 18 to 29-year-old age range, voter participation, 20 to 30%. Dismal. 60 and over, 60 to 70%. We know this. Who do politicians listen to? 60 and over, right? They have to. They need to get elected. They get what they want. They don't need to listen to the 18 to 29-year-olds. They don't vote. They can't be counted on to show up every time. So I tell these students, you've got to make your environment, your community, your state the way you want it. Don't cede your future to somebody else. Now, what would happen if we were to switch those? What if 18 to 29-year-olds were voting at 60, 70%? They would be listened to. And I wouldn't be here talking about this right now. I'd be here talking to you about the intricacies of the mean value theorem and how I can catch speeders with calculus without needing a radar. And And that's exciting, believe me, it is. It's worthy of another discussion. And as I say that, it occurs to me that that's probably why I'm not invited to too many parties. So this is what we're up against. So if we're keeping score, we are first in the US at cutting education, we're first in raising tuition, we are sixth from the bottom in childhood poverty rates, and we're third from the bottom in funding our students. So if the stated goal is improving education as it is from the governor and the legislature, I don't think that's the roadmap. We have obvious ways to do it. Take a look at Massachusetts, okay? I'm so lucky to be a public school teacher. I work with incredible kids every single day. I'm so lucky. They're unbelievable. They're empathetic, they're sympathetic, gifted. And I would follow those kids anywhere. We are in really good hands in this country. Trust me, going forward. And I have a personal stake in this. Here's my personal stake. Those two little girls are my daughters, and they deserve the absolute best. And so does every one of the kids in this state and across this country. So if you feel like I do about public education, please vote. Thank you.